Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is O'Neill McIntosh, your host, and welcome to Studio 41 Podcast. And today I have a special guest who's here to talk about mental health, some of the trends that are going on, certified
Psychotherapist.
psychotherapist.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to talk about, because we were talking beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things, the topics, and just some of the trends and things that are going on, and just some useful tips and some information from her will be great. So I'm going to ask Danielle
Yes.
to introduce herself and a little bit more detail regarding her company and who she is.
Thank you so much, O'Neill. Well, firstly, thank you for just inviting me to the podcast. My name is Danielle Chang-Gardner, but most people know me as Dani. I am the head therapist and founder of ROP Mental Health Services, which is a group psychotherapy practice. And our aim is really just to help our clients with relationships. So not just romantic relationships, but like the relationship with your mom, the relationship with your sister, maybe your coworker at work, and most importantly, the relationship with yourself. Because I think that obviously it all starts there, right? You have to have that good understanding and relationship with yourself in order for your other relationships to even have a chance to be successful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we're really about at ROP. And just me personally, like I love all of my clients, but I was saying that I really do love the ladies in the sense that I really want women to feel empowered, feel like they can be confident, feel like they have the power to rewrite their story moving forward, regardless of what they went through in the past. And that's what I really like to work with a lot of my clients on.
That's amazing, and it's true because when I first connected with you,
Mhm.
and I was talking about us getting together to have this conversation,
Mhm.
when I heard that a lot of it is around relationships, I just
Yeah.
assume
Yeah.
relationship as in couples, but everything is relationship.
Oh yeah.
And so, even in that conversation that we had about that, I learned a lot in
Mhm.
terms of what does that mean.
Yes.
So, I guess what I want to begin the conversation with
Mhm.
is what is psychotherapy?
Okay.
Obviously it's your calling because it sounds like something that from our conversation that you're really passionate
Oh
about.
yeah.
So if you just want to kind of clarify what that is compared to some of
Mhm.
the other mental health
Yeah.
certifications.
Yeah. Okay, so psychotherapy is essentially it's talk therapy, right? It's giving you a chance with like, a qualified to professional to work through the behaviors, thoughts and feelings and all of those types of like emotions,
Hmm.
right? And to have someone who can kind of work through that with you, right? In short, right?
Yeah.
But I know you were also asking what the difference was too, right? Because people often say, oh, there's like psychologists, there's psychotherapist. And when you're practicing psychotherapy, it could be a social worker, it could be a psychologist, it could be a psychotherapist. But we have a certain level of certification where we're able to practice psychotherapy,
Right,
right?
right.
So there's that, confusion there. And then obviously you have to be a doctor to prescribe medication, so that's something a bit different, right? So you could have done psychology and be at the PhD level, right? Or where you're a psychiatrist and then you can, give out medication and that kind of thing as well. Hmm.
So your organization or your company that you
Yeah.
founded,
Yeah.
ROP,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about what ROP is and what services you provide?
So in terms of ROP, ROP stands for rite of passage, right? So that is when people are going through a transformational period in their life, right? That's why I chose that name.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And we do couples therapy, we do individual therapy, we do child and youth therapy. We also do workshops for organizations and even consulting, right? If you want to know how to like make the workplace environment, a little bit more um equitable and all of those types of things, we can do things like that within the workplace too. And I also just have always loved doing events. So we do events as well. So I've done like date night events, I've done paint night events, I've done women's events with a friend of mine called Redefining Her that we did like every other year for a couple of years. So Yeah. So we do quite a few different things at ROP, but I would say the bread and butter is the psychotherapy and the workshops that we do.
It's interesting because you mentioned going into organizations or
Yeah.
corporations
Yeah.
to provide some counseling or
Yeah.
therapy, or what would you call it exactly? Like just
It's like
workshops?
consulting.
You're right.
And then sometimes we do workshops, right? And sometimes we actually are doing consulting on like workplace culture and things like that as well, where I enlisted the help of a friend of mine who is really well versed in that area. And we've kind of come together to build a program for workplaces that kind of want to, boost company morale, build the company culture.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's really, and a lot of that is based in relationships, like in terms of
Well, yeah, because a company really is relationship based, right? It's like,
right.
how do the team members interact, right? What's the relationship between management and staff or supervisors, right? What does that look like, and how can it be more cohesive and have people more happy within the workplace, right? So it's all of those things combined. Yeah.
But like you said, everything is comes down to relationships.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so in the workplace, in terms of whether it's with a supervisor or colleagues, it's really
Hmm.
how to manage those types of relationships.
Exactly. Yep.
But do you think you need relationships at work? Like some people say, I don't need to know anybody. Like I just go, I do my job,
I know.
and why do I need to connect with people? What's the purpose of that?
Hey, I get you. If you're a person who just wants to clock in and out,
Yes.
stay under the radar, not really trying to move up or do too much, then hey, I get you, right? But if you actually want to like, going to work and
Yes.
perhaps move up, right? Relationship building is going to be a big part of that as well, right? Especially if you're in a role where you have to collaborate with other team members. And then I have a lot of people coming to me with workplace related issues too. So, workplace relational issues like maybe they're dealing with microaggressions from a boss, right? All of these, I know you're nodding your head because
Yes.
yeah, it's a real thing, right? And then we talk about, okay, how are we gonna approach this, right? How are we going to, even like, I even sometimes recommend things like, documenting. How are you gonna cope in the workplace when such and such thing happens, right? Is this a situation that's so toxic that perhaps you do need to look at other alternatives, right? It's all of those types of questions that we kind of work through and figure out. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I've been in management
Hmm.
for many years,
Okay.
and relationships is very important to me. And I understand the value in having good, solid workplace
Relationship.
relationships. I'm not saying
Hmm.
we have to be IG buddies and
No.
Facebook friends,
No, and go out on
but
the weekends or anything
no, we
like
don't
that.
do
No.
that. There's a little something else.
Hmm.
But it's really about navigating your workplace and the relationships, and how valuable and important it is to learn those skills and learn the ability to do that for
Yeah.
your own self preservation and mental health.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Even
So,
just to be liked within the workplace,
yeah.
right? How many people, because they want to stay quiet, they, especially, like, let's be honest, especially if you're, you know, uh, let's just say it as it is, a black woman with like, that stays more to yourself. Are you seen as unapproachable? Are you seen as like, all of these things, which I know it sucks. I'm not saying that it's right, but it's just a reality if you're
Yes.
going to be in certain companies and in certain roles. Yeah.
And, being a manager, I see all that. So I
Yeah.
do see sometimes, yeah, what is that like if you are not able to navigate relationships? What is what do people perceive you to be? Right.
Yes,
And that could
exactly.
be based on race, it could be based on gender, it could be
Oh,
based
yeah,
on so many different things. So
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's so much I don't even know where to begin, but
I
there's
know.
such a lot to talk about. But in regards to you personally, what is your approach when someone
Yeah.
comes to a counseling session or a therapy
Mhm.
session, or when you go into a corporation to provide
Mhm.
consult or provide support? What is your approach?
Yeah. Okay, well, with my clients, right? The approach of therapy that I do is initially people are going to come in and you're going to have an initial consultation, right? We're going to have like 15 to 20-minute chat to see if we're a good fit for therapy, right?
Mm,
Yeah. And then the first couple of sessions is just like information gathering, right? Like I want to kind of find out, okay, let me find out a little bit about you, what you're coming in for, what your social supports look like, right? And then we create a plan on how we're going to move forward. I like to have a plan because I like to look back with my clients later and be able to see that, oh, we actually did a lot of work in this area, right? We really, you know, we really nailed like this area that we wanted to work on. Okay, now we can focus on this because it's a changing document, right? But in terms of my approaches, I personally like to use a solutions focused approach, strengths based, and I also do like DBT approaches as well.
What was
Because
that?
DBT. So I
DBT?
know there's CBT as
Yeah,
well. And honestly, I think most therapists use like a little bit of, of
everything.
a few different types of approaches,
So what does
right?
DBT stand for?
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Okay. And
Yes.
CBT,
So
which
it's
I'm familiar
it's
with.
cognitive
Okay.
behavioral therapy. Yes, I know. I'm even like, hopefully I say all of them right. Someone's
A
gonna be
lot
in
of
the
terms.
comments,
Yeah.
like,
What's she saying?
correct me.
Okay.
No, I think they're correct.
Right.
But yeah, so those are the ones that I primarily, draw from because I like what they stand for and what they kind of help you do. Like strengths based, I like looking for your strengths, helping you see what those strengths are, right? And then solutions focused, I do some work with my clients in terms of going back to the past and things that have happened, but then I do want to help you create a clear path on how to move forward. So I do like the solutions focused approach in that way. And then in terms of like DBT, I do think things like emotional regulation and things of that nature are so helpful, right? When you're able to control your emotions, you really are in the driver's seat, right?
I need
So I
some of
like,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead. Because your emotions could really get the best of you, especially if
Oh,
you wear it on your sleeve. And
I used
you're
to be
always
that.
taught, like people are saying, be your authentic self. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on servant leadership, and I'm
Yeah.
big on being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to be careful
Oh
when you're
yeah.
being authentic, because sometimes, if you're someone who's emotional,
Oh yeah.
um, it could cause more harm than
Mm-hmm.
anything else.
Then good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's about how you express how you're feeling, right? And your emotions. Because you can still be authentic, but I don't have to throw my phone against the wall and like be screaming at the top of my
But
lungs, right?
that's being authentic for me. No, just no, but yes.
Right?
Mm.
So I know for myself, I was someone who didn't have good control of my emotions either. Like when I was much younger. And now people who, see me, they're like, you're still the same Danielle, but like they can tell the shift there. And a lot of people say even more so after I had a child, but that's pretty recent. But like, but definitely it did take some like work to actually learn to be more in control of my emotions. And I'm not perfect. There's still going to be times where,
Yeah. Hmm.
I might go off or whatnot. But then I'm going to be able to recognize that quicker and to course correct as I go along. Right.
Yeah. And what I find interesting about like trying to manage your emotions is physically. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even though you're trying to manage it, your face sometimes can't lie, or
Oh,
your
yeah.
face, you have to be able to understand if your eyes twitching, then
Oh,
people notice you're saying, yeah, I'm good, but your eyes twitching, and no, something's obviously wrong. So it's
oh,
really being
yeah.
able to, I guess, manage all of that.
Oh
Even,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not just that. It's the physical responses that you have, right? And how you're learning to cope with those responses. Hey, I'm light skinned. Like when I get embarrassed or mad, my face is like bright red,
Yeah.
right? I
Yes,
can't hide certain things,
you
or even when
can't.
I laugh a lot, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, and obviously that's not something I necessarily, need to hide, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
We have those physical responses as well in our body that we also train people on how to manage, right? Like that's like where some of another reason why I like DBT, the mindfulness comes in, and breath work, all of these things that can just help you kind of, calm yourself down. Yeah.
So when people come to one of your sessions,
Mhm.
like what should they come prepared to do? Or
I
what should they expect?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Initially, I think you have to like your therapist. You have to come in and I want you to just feel comfortable talking to me. Know that, yes, like I guess in this relationship, I am kind of the, quote unquote professional, but I want you to feel like you are comfortable talking to me. Um, I feel like especially for our community, it's so nice that we have so many more, psychotherapists of color because I feel like now they have that extra layer of comfort and not having to over explain themselves like they may have had to do in the past with other therapists who might just not have had, you know, the same level of comfortability or knowledge of, specific issues within our communities and the norms and things of that nature. Yeah. So really, I just want them to come in and just be ready to like be open, have a good conversation. Obviously, I think you'll be more open over time,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And then I think for everyone too, like I'm not going to be the best fit for everybody, right? Everyone's going to have the therapist that is going to work best for them. So
Really?
I
I think
think
you'd be a good fit for everybody. You seem great.
hey, I think most people, but like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like everyone
Yes.
does really, I do always encourage people to, especially when you're looking at the beginning stages, like shop around for a psychotherapist, do an initial consult with at least like 2 or 3 people, see who you actually vibe with, who you feel comfortable opening up and talking with. Because a part of it is just that likability and just liking the person you're
Wow, that's a good tip.
working
That's
with.
good for people to know. I think sometimes when you go to see any professional,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't feel that you have the power that you could say, you know what, this is not a good fit. Let me go somewhere else.
Oh
But you're actually
goodness.
encouraging it. That
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
I would argue I don't even want to go to a doctor I don't like.
yeah,
No, no, that's a pretty intimate relationship. You're knowing all of my business,
yes,
and then I don't really vibe with you.
hmm
No. And I think psychotherapy is similar in that sense. You do have to feel comfortable with that person and
right.
have that level of comfortability.
So is it safe to say there's no one session fix? Like you can't go into a
Oh.
session and say, yeah, I have a marriage issue. I got this. I got that. Fix me in an hour. It's
I
more
would laugh. I would be like, do you think, what do you think I am? Like a magician?
miracle
Like
worker.
God? Like, you have to, it's a process, right?
Yes, and I think
It's,
that's important for people to know that it's just
yeah.
not one session or
No.
two. You may need a couple. One just to figure out if this is a good fit. Another
Yes.
session, kind of start unpacking, like you said
Yeah,
earlier, in
to
terms of the
unpack.
history and yeah,
Exactly. To figure out what do we want the focus to be, at least initially. Maybe initially you want to come in and you want to work on your romantic relationship first. Or you want, and that's the main thing you're coming for, right? Or if I have couples who come in, right, and they have a specific issue they want to work through. So it really can differ depending on what exactly it is you're coming in for. I find that people that are coming in for one specific thing, maybe it can be a certain number of sessions, but for an individual, I think we have so many different things that we're trying to work on in our life. There's different areas where we want different things. And it's often like an ongoing relationship. And then you might eventually get to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm doing well now. I feel like I'm at a point where I have the toolbox, where I have the skills to help myself, and maybe you might take a break and you might come back like later if something else comes up or if you just feel the need, right?
yes,
So it's not something too that I think you have to be in therapy 24/7. I don't
yes,
necessarily feel that either, but if you want to and you just like it and need that support, that's great too. So it's an individual thing
yeah,
to figure out. And because I've had some clients where they're like, okay, well, I feel much better, but like, I still want to come once a month just to kind of, check
Mhm.
in. And I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds good. And then I have some who are like, okay, I feel like I'm at a good point now and I can like stop sessions. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because that to me tells me, okay, I've kind of done my job, right?
yeah. You did what you're supposed
you're
to do.
you're in a better place, right? And in a better space.
But
Yeah.
one of the things that I wanted to ask is, and I don't want to use the word trending, but I want to,
Yeah.
what are you seeing more of? I don't know if a lot of people have seen changes in a lot of things while they're
Mm-hmm.
seeking
Yeah.
therapy or support.
Yeah.
After COVID, obviously, with
Yeah.
some of the
Oh,
stuff,
geez. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there was a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
What are you seeing now? I mean, we're removed from COVID a couple of years now, but
Yeah.
what are the types of things that you find people are coming into your office or coming to
About,
your sessions or coming to see your counselors? What are
yeah.
they talking about now? Like, what are some of the key issues that people are
Yeah.
facing now?
Okay. Well, there's like, as you said, there are quite a few, but since you brought up COVID, I do think about there's a lot of people who are experiencing social anxiety now as a result of being inside so long. And now a lot of people are being told they have to go back to work, right? In person, in office, right? Not just
Yes,
one day a week, but
I'm
maybe
hearing
3,
that.
5
Yes.
days a week.
Mhm.
Right. So that's a big shift. When you've been home all this time, just by yourself, curled up in your blanket, So,
Working from your bed. I get it.
right?
I
Yeah.
did that.
Dressed here up,
Yeah.
right? So that is one thing that I find that comes up. I also feel that a lot of the youth were heavily impacted by that, especially maybe if you were supposed to be in high school at that time and that whole experience kind of just got taken away
Yes.
from you, right?
Yes.
I find that a lot of them sometimes don't have enough, they call it IRL friends, but in real life
Mm.
friends, right?
IRL
Because,
friends. Okay.
yeah,
See, just dropping
because,
science on me today.
oh,
Good.
trust me, I had to ask, what does that mean? Like, no, that was like the first time I heard that,
Yes.
right? But like, it means that the majority of their friends were people maybe who they game with online or people who they've met online, but they haven't actually seen them physically in person, right? And these are like these new things that I think at our age, if I wasn't in this field, I wouldn't really be so aware of, right? That they kind of miss those some opportunities for socialization, especially with COVID, right? When we were out to party and things like that,
Yes.
those early 20-year-olds were in their house, stuck
Mm.
inside, right? And I do find, even with like, family members that are of that age group, I'm like, yo, they're different. Like I was outside this time,
Yes.
right? And they
Yes.
are very like it's very different. And you do see the impacts of that. I would say work-wise, these are things that have been long-standing issues, but people come in about, work-related issues, microaggressions that I talked about earlier. That's a common thing. Feeling like they want to figure out what their purpose. That's a big thing too. Like people really do want to be in a place where they like what they do, right? And I feel like unfortunately for a lot of people that's like not the case, right? So sometimes we're doing a lot of work on that, right? What does that look like? Does that look like honing in on your hobbies outside of work, or does that look like maybe making a shift, right? Making pivoting in your career, however that may be, right? And then relationship wise, I know we touched on this earlier. I was saying something that I see that's really trending is like this, open relationships,
Mhm.
just different relationships looking very different than how they
Yes.
did traditionally many years ago, right? Obviously, I have a lot of, gay and lesbian clients as well. So, these are like some of the different, things that are coming up, right? Maybe polyamory, what that looks like. And yeah, so those are some of the trends off the top of my head that
Yeah.
have been coming up.
And it's interesting. You talk about polyamory and things like that. Like
Mhm.
I've noticed that, and I hear
Mhm.
more of that conversation about the open relationships.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it was always there, but I
Mhm.
don't think people spoke about it as much. At least not around me. But
Yeah.
I'm hearing more and more people talk about it, and they're venturing, wanting to have a relationship like that,
Yeah.
or are part of a relationship like that.
Yeah.
And so that is different in terms of the dynamics of relationships
Oh
compared to how we
yeah.
did it, how it was traditionally.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you're seeing a lot more of that.
Yes, I definitely am. I'm seeing people just want to explore, trying new things. I do feel like, hey, it's a great thing for those who want to, go and explore. I think when people are doing it just to keep a relationship, that's where the issue comes in, because then there's a lot of self, betrayal if it's something that doesn't work for you. Why are you
Right.
doing it just to keep a partner, right? Find a partner who wants what you want, right? Um, yeah. So I see a lot of different things in that
Yeah.
aspect. And then even sometimes it's like, sometimes it's related to performance issues, with men, right? And then it's like, well, trying
With
to get
men.
there, yeah, like maybe, their stuff is not working. And
Hmm.
then the
Why got to be about the
yeah.
men?
I'm just telling you
I hear you.
examples that I've
Yes.
heard. But I
Yeah.
did have that case where,
Hmm.
that's what it was. And the wife she didn't want to go cheat behind his back. She
Yes.
wants to tell him that she wants this to be taken care of
Yes.
by someone else, but it's openly discussed and agreed upon. Right. And one thing I will say that I do like about the like what true open relationships are is that the transparency, right? I think we could use a lot of more of that in the heterosexual relationships, because let's be honest, if you weren't getting that in a traditional heterosexual relationship, a lot of people would just go out and cheat,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
And at least in this situation, you're being made aware of what's happening, right?
Right.
So it really is like, case by case basis. And obviously it has to be something that, works for you, but that's something that has been coming up with a lot of my clients as well.
Wow. And it because I mentioned earlier what people need to be prepared for when they come to a session.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking of some of the topics that you talked about
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the relationships and marriages and couples and having open relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
you really have to come prepared to be vulnerable,
Oh, yeah.
because I think that's the only way something like that can be resolved, or those issues can be talked about and come to a common ground of, okay, this is what's happening,
Yes.
this is where we are, and this is how we could fix it.
100%. That is the only way to get to a solution, is if you're actually willing to be open and vulnerable, and with each other and with me. I once had a couples client. It's really funny, actually. So I have a monthly newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one month I did my newsletter on open relationships because it was such a topic that was coming up with a
Mm-hmm.
few of my clients. And that couple told me at my next appointment that that was when the main thing they were struggling with, how to navigate it.
Okay.
And before that, they did not tell me yet,
Oh, okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we only had a couple of
Yeah,
sessions. But like,
but you think that would
but
come
it
up
was
early,
but it's funny because they're still building the trust, right? And they
right?
saw that newsletter as like a segue to kind of tell me that this is another big theme
Yes,
within their relationship, right? Wanting to explore this. And yeah, and I guess that gave them the permission to kind
and the
of do
courage to do
that.
it. Yeah, I want to ask you something about relationships, because when I spoke to you earlier, when I think of relationships, I always think
Mm-hmm.
of one to one, like myself and another person.
Yeah.
But something that you said that made me think, and it
Mm-hmm.
was your relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people do neglect or ignore that, or don't understand what does that mean. Do you
Yeah.
mind, elaborating a little
Elaborating.
bit more on what
Yeah.
that is?
I think the relationship with yourself is how comfortable you are with yourself, how much knowledge you have of self acceptance. It's all of those, like, self confidence, self love, self acceptance. Like, that is what I think of in terms of your relationship with yourself. Do you like yourself? Right? Some people truly, like, they're struggling so much that they don't like themselves. Maybe due to past trauma, maybe due to past relationships that just were not good, where the person really berated them or just kind of belittled them, put them down. And now they have all of these, like, they have these negative, you know, core beliefs about themselves. You know, I'm weak, I'm not good at this. All of these types of things, right? So I think the most important thing is working on yourself, because think about it. If you're in a relationship, let's just use a romantic relationship for instance, right? But you're a person where your self-esteem is like zero, you're going to cause issues in that relationship. You're going to be the jealous, crazy, like, you're going to, there are going to be issues because you have unresolved issues within yourself. And obviously no one's perfect, but you want to get yourself to a place where, like, for instance, you just want to have a balanced view of yourself. That's what I see as
I like
self-esteem,
that.
right? You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know the things that you're just okay at, right? And you just have a balanced view, because if you think everything's great, then you're getting to the point where you're someone who's probably, conceited,
Yeah.
like,
Or
right?
delusional.
But
Yeah.
like having that balanced view of yourself and being okay with both your strengths and weaknesses, I think is a place of power. And then you also have the power to decide if you do want to change anything. Right. And that's what I talk about when I say, like, rewriting your story, right? Moving forward, because we all kind of have a narrative that we play in our head too, right? We have a narrative that, oh, I always get, this, or, I like nothing good happen. Like, everyone has these, narratives. And the more that we say that, it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Everyone knows that, right? Then those things end up coming to be because of the ways that you view yourself. So yeah, so I just see the relationship with yourself as all of those things, and really just having, good self-confidence, a balanced view of yourself, and just being comfortable with yourself.
So even saying things out loud about yourself, like if you do something, you're like, "Oh, I'm so dumb," or "Why did I
Oh,
do that?" those things, they really do
I
impact you.
I didn't even like saying the example where I said I'm weak because I'm so careful
Okay.
with the things that I say. Yeah, because like, and I know this might be getting into something else, but I think your subconscious is hearing everything you say and it's not differentiating when you're just joking or when you're just saying it in passing and you don't think it's a serious thing. So I'm very careful about what I say about myself and even the people around me. If you like, I remember one time my sister and I were talking, and then I don't know, we're talking about money or something, and she's like, "Oh, but we never have that amount of money." I go, "Oh, girl," I go, "Keep that to yourself."
Yes.
Because I'm just like, no, don't put that on me. Because I just think like, just power in words, right? Power in words.
Well, it's interesting because we know that the power of words to other people, if we're saying something to other people, it has an impact on them. Why wouldn't it have an impact
On
on myself if
yourself.
I'm saying those
Oh,
same
yeah.
things?
Exactly. And whose words are most important? The most important thing is what you think about yourself. Because someone could say, I don't know, that I'm dumb, I'm ugly, whatever. But if I don't believe that, then it's not gonna affect me as much. Not to say nothing's gonna affect you at all, because I do think everything has an effect. But those things I'm gonna be better able to, be resilient and be able to bounce back from that because I have a certain self-concept that I already believed and have worked on.
So how do you, I mean, obviously going to therapy and counseling is a good step, but if someone
Yeah.
has these issues from time, as
Yeah.
they would say,
Yeah.
for many years, they don't think that things work out for them. And they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm unlucky.
Yeah.
I'm always unlucky, or
Yeah.
I'm stupid. I can't figure this out. Why can't I figure this out? How does someone erase that or
I know. It requires a lot of
change?
work,
It does require a lot of work.
a lot of self-talk, a lot of
Self-talk, but
yeah,
in a positive sense.
but in a positive sense. Yes, positive affirmations, mirror work, talk to yourself in the mirror, tell yourself about the person you want to become. I actually have a
You
lot
said
of
mirror talk.
yeah.
Because I believe that, but
Yeah.
what is that like? Just
Oh,
say those
okay.
things in the mirror.
So mirror
at
talk
yourself.
is like you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and you just tell yourself what you want to put into yourself. If it's that I'm gonna just crush the day, if it's that I'm beautiful, if it's that whatever it is, but it's like talking to yourself in the mirror and having that kind of pep talk with yourself in the morning. Yeah. So these are just all like different things that you can do. These are different approaches, right? You're probably also going to want to do that inner deep work, like through, whether it's with a therapist, whether it's with your pastor, because you can do that in different ways, but you're going to want to do that work. And I actually have a lot of empathy for people that did not grow up in a supportive environment. Because I always say any of my trauma comes from adulthood because my childhood was nice. Like
That's good.
my parents were nice. My dad always bigged me up, telling me, just like basically just that you're beautiful, you're smart, you're just
That's
like
awesome.
very good in terms of those types of things,
Yeah, like
and just the foundation
was very strong from your parents. Nice.
Yes. Right. So I do have a lot of empathy for people who didn't receive that. And I can imagine how hard it would be to have a good self-concept unless you've really done the work, if that is your foundation. Yeah, because I do think like myself and people like myself who've had a good, childhood, you do have that like extra leg up in a sense, right? That when things happen, you're probably a little bit better able to be resilient and to bounce back because you have that strong foundation, right? And you've probably already programmed this into your core beliefs, into your like subconscious that, this is me, this is what I embody, this is what I'm good at, and so on and so forth.
This is who I am. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And you're right. There's a lot of people that don't have that.
Yeah.
That foundation from the start because it was a little unsettling at home, and they really don't. And when they can't imagine when people externally, some people they know or may not know, get on their case, so to speak. It is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. If all you've been told is one thing, it's like you really then have to be so strong in what you believe yourself, right? And then through that, you're going to start, I think, like attracting people and only allowing other people around you that are mirroring that back to you.
I was just about to talk about it, like to talk about that with you because I was just saying it is really important who you surround yourself with.
Oh yeah. Oh
You
goodness.
know,
Yeah.
and you're right. Those are the individuals that you're going to attract if you feel confident in yourself and you're positive. With time, those are the individuals that you normally attract
Normally,
and
and
build your
obviously,
tribe. Yeah.
though, I do think people who are confident and all that stuff, they attract a lot of different people,
Yes,
because
of course.
everyone's attracted to light. Everyone's
Yes.
attracted to
Okay.
that. But yes, I would say probably the majority. But you're gonna attract probably everything, but you're also gonna be better able to kind of filter things out and notice when something is like, oh no, I don't allow that in my space or whatnot. You're going to be better able to assert your boundaries essentially as well.
That's so important. Boundaries, setting
Mm-hmm.
them.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
boundaries are a big thing, and some people don't have enough. I think now sometimes the trend is too many. Like it's like,
Yeah.
like I know I'm a therapist, and hey, I'm big on boundaries, but sometimes it's like your boundaries are so high that like ain't nobody can get in. Then maybe you need to slightly adjust, right?
You're right.
We're still working with people at the end of the day, right? No one's gonna be perfect, including you. So
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I think that whole self-talk, like what do you say to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and how that manifests itself.
Yeah.
If you say it enough and you start believing it,
Yeah.
and it's really good to really identify that early, so you could kick the habit, so to speak, of talking to yourself that way.
Oh yeah. Like
Yeah.
anyone who knows me, like even even like my exes would probably say, "Oh yeah, Danielle, don't play about like what you say."
Really?
Because certain things. Yeah, I don't want the negative talk. Like no, like not to say you're just being blind to like
Right,
the
or
fact
naive,
that
yeah.
there is, there are negative things, but certain things we just shouldn't say, right? And I'm big on that.
So what's the foundation for a good relationship then?
Oh, geez.
I know that's a big question.
You're just going to slide that
Drop
one
it there.
in there.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
What is
okay.
like the foundation of a good relationship, whether it be personal or at
Yeah.
work? What
Yeah.
are some key things, 2 or 3 things that should
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
part of that?
I know it sounds so cliche, but I do think like one of the biggest things are communication, right? I think like mutual positive regard, like just assuming that, this person does have good intentions and not always assuming that it's, negative intentions. Right. I also do think being able to be, as we talked about earlier, vulnerable and open is huge, right? Because in a relationship, whatever type of relationship it is, even if it's a friendship, right? There's give and take, right? Sometimes like you're being vulnerable, sometimes I'm being vulnerable, sometimes, I'm pouring into you, sometimes you're pouring into me. So it's and not being afraid of that too, right? And afraid of that openness and that vulnerability, because I think a lot of people, due to past experiences or whatnot, they have the trouble opening up, you know? I know that even like personally for myself, I would say from a romantic situation, that's probably where I more so am not as open as early, Whereas with a friendship, I could probably be too open too early, right? So
Right.
everyone's so different in the different relationships that they have. I know people say that like, how you do one relationship is how you do all of them, but I do think there could be differences depending on what you've experienced and within those different types of relationships.
Something came to mind when you talk about, you're pouring into a relationship and you have to be vulnerable for them to pour into you and so forth. What happens when, there are relationships, I think everybody has a couple, where you're the individual who
is pouring
or the one that everything's being poured on. So you're there, you're the person that you're with or your friend, they're always coming to you with their issues or some of the things that they're going through. And I know, whether it's they're sliming on you or whatever the case is, but everything seems to be about them. But you guys, there is a friendship or a relationship there. But is that a good one? Like, if they keep telling you it's very negative, like, and they're going through a lot, like it's not their fault. Maybe they're experiencing some horrible things in life.
Yeah.
And they need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Plus, they need a therapist or a counselor.
Thank
too.
you. That's what I was going to say.
But they keep talking to you about these things, and you realize early in that relationship that I can't really say anything or I can't be vulnerable at this with this person. I like
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
my job or my role in
Role.
this relationship is just to take this.
Well, I think if that's what I was gonna say. If that's what it is all the time, then you need to have a conversation. I've told a friend before, you need to get a therapist, and I'm a therapist, but I've said, I just saw, you know, 5 clients today, like, or whatever, 4 clients today, whatever. And now you want to be my 6, like
yeah.
every day, like,
Yeah.
because it's like, so I had to say, like, you need a therapist, like, because I am here for you as a friend, but like, it can become too much, right? And luckily she was receptive to it. And I actually, she went to that therapist and they had like a good, like she went to her for a while. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that she was open and receptive to that and didn't get mad and say I'm a bad friend and cut
Well,
me
this
off,
is it. Because there's a kind of a blurry line. Like
Both
everybody's
can
like,
happen.
yeah, we're friends. We should be able to speak to each other about whatever and be vulnerable and open. But when is enough, or when it's too much.
Oh, yeah.
And am I qualified to be telling you certain things? Like,
Well, I think when you're venting to a friend, you kind of realize like it's not really about the qualification. It's probably because they just kind of want to vent and maybe they want to hear your viewpoint on
yeah,
things.
but your viewpoint, depending on your friend, it might be gospel. They're like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to do A, B, and C, as if they know this is absolute, right? So,
well, I would say for the person who's doing that, I'd say just be careful because especially when I'm just sharing. When I'm giving advice as a friend, I always end it with, but do what you say.
yes, put that disclaimer in there.
Do what works for you because
Yeah.
I'm just giving you, as a friend, when I'm having those friendly conversations, I'm just giving you my opinion.
Yeah, I would always say, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. And so if something happens, like it's really up to you. You figure out. But if it was me, this is what I would do.
You got to put that disclaimer in, right? And therapy is different in that sense that we're not really telling them what to do. We're more helping them get to that realization of what they want to do on their own, right? So, yeah. But yeah, I know that's pretty funny.
And I'm sure some of us have, maybe I've been that person to someone else where I'm just spewing and they don't really get the opportunity. And I didn't even or don't realize it. But
I have been that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I got divorced, I know there was one friend in particular who I just really looked up to in that aspect because she's been married a very long time for like our age. She's been married like a long time. And I just really valued her opinion and stuff like that. So I think that when I got divorced, I was just every day like telling her stuff. And then I noticed after a while, like she wasn't really answering my calls. But then you know what though? I realized what it is. So at least and that was before I was a therapist and all that stuff. But even then I was self-aware enough to realize you know what, that was probably too much. After a while, how much is she gonna be able to take on, right? Like I probably should have got a therapist. You know what I mean? It was too much. And later I actually even said that to her and I said, you know what, but thanks for listening to me so long. And I realized that was probably too much. And you know what she just said? She was like, you know what? Thanks, Dani. Because she realized that I just got it. I understood, But I think sometimes when we're so caught up in our own stuff, we don't take that time to reflect and think about am I being this person? Because you're so caught up with your own stuff, you're not really being mindful.
Which leads to my next question. Is there ever a time where it's no amount of therapy or counseling could help me with what I'm going through, whether it be in a relationship and just for some reason, the relationship, whether it be a personal relationship or a friendship, a work relationship where there's no resolving this issue and we've tried. Does it ever get to a point or that,
Oh yeah, well that happens. There's times where you decide that the relationship, it's romantic or platonic, that it needs to end because it's just not going to work for you guys moving forward, or you guys have different views, or there's just too much trauma there, or for whatever reason, it just, can't move forward. And then I also think sometimes with certain clients, you might just realize that maybe it's not a fit, or maybe exactly what they're looking for would be better served by someone else. So that can all happen. And I think most therapists have experienced that, at some point. But I think on a whole, most of the time therapy can be useful, even if it's just to realize that, hey, this is not going to work. It just helps to get everything on the table, you know? Yeah. But I don't want people to be scared now, because I know a lot of couples, a lot of the men are always scared. Oh, the therapist is going to tell us to not be together anymore. And honestly, when I have a
Really?
couple, and when I have a couple come through my doors, my aim is to help them stay together, because I feel like the fact that they came through my doors, they
That's
they have
interesting.
some want to save their relationship, right?
I would assume that that's, if people are coming to a therapist, that they want it to work,
Yeah.
not, and thinking that the therapist would want them to work and resolve their issue, not for
Yeah.
the therapist to say, oh yeah, ditch this guy or ditch this. This is not working. I didn't think that they would come in with that mindset. I think the therapist or counselor would always be trying to
To
see
help.
where they could repair or help them repair or come to the actualization of
See, and
what needs
you
to be
have that
fixed.
viewpoint, but not everyone does. Some
Really?
people are actually very fearful to come to couples therapy for that reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people have obviously told you that.
Oh yeah. Like, or
Oh,
they've said
wow.
like, oh yeah, my partner thinks like, or like sometimes they've said they would like a male, right? Like, because they think their partner might be more receptive if it's so like there's so many different things at play, right? And but it's just, because obviously I think for most therapists, like, oh, well, I was gonna say all, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, that is the goal, right?
Yeah.
You want your clients to be successful, right? Like, and obviously I'm not saying staying together means you're successful, but you know what I mean. Like, their ideal goal would be to try to repair what's going wrong in the relationship. But sometimes, as you said, sometimes it's just beyond repair. And that happens in friendships and relationships, that sometimes that is the final outcome.
Yeah. And that's why it was so important. And you said this earlier about before it gets to that stage
Mm-hmm.
to come see
Oh yeah.
you or a counselor or a therapist
Or
early.
yeah. Oh, I already said when I have my new man, we're going there early. Like not
What
to
did you say?
say like not to say we're gonna be there like the whole time, but like what I mean is I think we should do, like, once we decide we're gonna really be locked in and be intentional and whatever, let's do a couple of sessions, like couple sessions, yeah, just as a way of getting everything on the table, really understanding each other, understanding how we love, understanding our attachment styles. I think that would be really
So
useful.
you'd recommend that for most,
Well,
like in your opinion?
yeah,
would you
if I'm doing it myself, like I
Yes.
think it would be a good idea, because I think it's just that, like, preventative. Like, it's kind of like, think about even from like a church perspective, a lot of times before people get married, they go and they do their
Counseling.
classes, right?
Right, yeah.
It's like similar type of thing, right? You're just trying to kind of do the work beforehand to avoid those issues down the line.
I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
But some might argue, well, that's why we're courting. We're trying to figure things out on our own. Why do we need a third person
Yeah.
to listen, or a professional?
Yeah.
But I do see the value in that. Now that I'm talking more about it, I do see the value. It's always, when do we introduce that?
Exactly. And I was gonna say, like, recording, we're getting to know each other, but the facts are, I think, and why a lot of relationships don't work, probably even like, my own, like, certain ones in the past, whatever, is because we didn't have some of those hard conversations early on. We didn't talk about some of those important things, like recently I was a part of an event that was about finances, right? And that is a big thing that a lot of
Huge.
people don't even chat about until they're actually like already married or something, And that's such a huge, like, it's one of the top reasons that people break up.
I know. Love
Right?
doesn't conquer everything.
No.
I could love you, but
Yeah.
finance, if there's difficulties in that, that's added stress.
Oh yeah, 100%, right? Which then affects the relationship, right?
Because it affects your mind, it affects your body. You
Yeah.
talk about performance issues. Everything then
Yeah.
starts
Yes.
rolling, and it
You know
just
what?
all because it came
and
down to
and
finance.
that's very closely correlated too. Yes, I have seen that where person lost their job and then the performance is gone, right? Because as you said, like, these things are just so, like, closely connected, and how we think about money, and having those conversations early on. What I always reference this Netflix show, but I can never remember the name. It's about money.
Yes.
But basically he asks in the show, like, what does your rich life look like? right? And I don't think he just means it from like a, you know, oh, 10 cars in the driveway or whatever, right? I think he means, what does a quality life look like to you? Like, do you want that? Do you want to travel once a year? Do you want to have that 2-car garage? Like, what are the things that are important for you money wise to do, right? Because sometimes people can have very differing views on that point, and that can cause a lot of contention within the relationship. Hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting. Like I said, you just hear it every day from people that you're around. Just some of the things that they didn't think about was worth talking about, whether it's intimacy, what they like,
Yeah. Oh,
whether it
that's a big
is
one.
finance,
Yeah.
where do they project or see themselves in a couple of years? What would they like to have materialistically,
Yeah.
and what they're working for, career
Yeah.
wise, status.
You want to have a
Um,
shared goal, shared vision.
yeah.
Otherwise, what are you guys working towards? You're working towards what you're thinking in your head, and you're working towards what you think in your head.
Hmm.
And there's misalignment, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, well, if you have this dream and they have that dream, opposite attracts. But I don't know. I'm not a big believer. Me personally, I don't 100% believe in that. I do think that there needs to be some commonality in terms of shared goals. Like, is
Yeah.
this where we want to be? This is what we
Yes.
want to look like.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah.
there's going to need to be some commonality, or you guys are going to have to be able to both compromise and meet somewhere where both of you can still be happy. And, so yeah, because I know the whole opposites attract thing. I don't know.
By your answer, I know.
Hey, I do think sometimes you can bring out, the, best in each other and kind of be strong where the other person's not so strong, and that's great. But you do, as you said, have to have some commonalities in terms of what you envision the future looking like.
I mean, I could go on and we could talk forever, but I know
Yeah.
I can't talk to you forever right now. You got things to do. But
Yeah.
what I've come to realize with the phone call and this, you definitely have a passion
Oh, thank you.
and a love for this. And
Mhm.
this seems like you're living your purpose.
Yeah.
And so,
For the first time, yeah. I feel like that.
yeah. And so just getting, what drew you to this? Like,
Yeah.
what set you on this journey of becoming,
Yeah. It's
ROP owner and doing
Mhm.
counseling and therapy?
Yeah.
Like, what did it?
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, I didn't like working for nobody.
Great reason.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That was my number one. Like I always used to say at my the last job I had before I dove into full-time entrepreneurship, I used to say, "Yo, I'm not going to be here with you guys forever." Eh?
Yeah.
And when I called my boss and told her I wasn't coming back, no, actually, no, I didn't even tell her yet. I just called her, and she just said, "You're not coming back, are you?"
Really?
And I said, "No." And she goes, "Are you working somewhere else, or are you working for yourself?" I think she just she could tell that I was just over it, right? Right? And I said myself, and she said, "Oh, congratulations, that's good." And then she just told me what to do to put in the resignation and all that kind of stuff, right? So they already knew, because I definitely had it on my heart for a long time to figure out what it is I wanted to do. I've done what a lot of people have done. I've done those MLMs, I've tried all these different types of businesses. I used to at one point when I was much younger, I used to throw parties.
Oh, really?
And then
Really?
and then I actually made the switch, and I
Party
was
girl.
doing
Okay, sorry.
gospel events. I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was called CB Line with my friend, Roro. Yep. And prior to that, I was Rochelle.
Okay.
Yeah. My friend Rochelle.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was a good friend of mine, Richard Picard. He was just on the show, but he does artist management, and we were talking about that with
really?
the whole gospel industry and
Oh,
what
wow.
his involvement is. It's very interesting.
Very neat. Yeah. No, that's a totally different, it's a totally different community, totally different way of doing things, because I went from, I told you, throwing parties, because you said
Throwdowns.
party gal,
Yes.
bashment party, right?
Bashment.
To doing such a switch, right?
Yeah.
But it was because my friend was, she still is very much in the church.
Yeah.
I have a background of being in the church, but I wasn't as devout as her. And
Hey, we're all at different parts of our journey.
And
Yes.
she said, Danielle, like, I feel like we could do this, right? And I said, what does that mean? I can't club no more. And she started laughing.
That was the first thing that popped in your head.
But anyway, so all of this to say that, like, a few different things led me here. So that was part of it. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And then I actually was, after I was divorced, I kind of was just looking for purpose. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to do next? What do I want things to look like? I felt like I had a lot more freedom now because I can kind of do whatever I want to do. I didn't have any kids and I was, no longer a married woman. So I started a YouTube channel on relationships. So we talked about different relationship topics. And basically, as a result of that, I started having people have their friends who'd gone through like a recent breakup, people who were divorcing. I had more than one person have their friend come to me to talk to them to try to like help them through the situation.
Right.
And this is before I had even actually started like doing psychotherapy,
But you always felt that you were going to be in business for yourself doing that.
I always felt like I was going to be in business for myself, but I wasn't sure what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was. And so that's why I kind of feel like it almost found me, because then a friend of mine from school who was working as a psychotherapist, she said, Dani, I think you'd be a good psychotherapist. Do you want me to put in a word where I work and see if I can, get you in? And then I actually went in, and at first, like when you go in, like you are kind of like mentored and kind of supervised, So that was really good for my learning and really getting into the field and learning about, how to be a good psychotherapist. And I did that for a few years. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I saw how she had a group practice and I said, I feel like I can do this for, like myself and for, yeah. And then I just started, like I started thinking of, what am I going to name the company? Started going through the incorporation process. I kind of just took a leap of faith because I knew that, working wasn't for working for someone else wasn't for me. And and it's just worked out. I think it was, unfortunately, COVID, I know, was a really hard time for a lot of people, but it was a good time for therapists in the sense that a lot of people needed someone to talk to.
Right.
Right. So it was like the timing was also right. So I feel like it just kind of came together. And that's how I got into it. Yeah. And I really love it. I love talking with people. I love helping them feel like they've got through something that used to really bother them, like they have a better self-concept, better relationships with the people around them. That is truly something that I really enjoy about it. And I also really like doing the workshops as well, because I feel like then you're kind of reaching like a larger audience.
Right.
And I do like the public speaking aspect. Obviously, if I did a YouTube channel, I'm here with you. I don't mind public speaking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I personally don't really like public speaking, but I don't. Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people are like, really? You don't? No, not really.
Okay.
But I do enjoy doing things like this, right?
Okay, neat. Yeah, no, actually that makes sense, because I have been told when I met someone who knew my YouTube channel, and we were just chatting, he's like, oh, you're the first YouTuber that is social in real life. And I had to laugh because I'm like, but I guess it's a different skill set.
It is
to be able to talk on the camera versus being, live and direct in person. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I could call you Dani, no?
Yes, of
Danielle,
course.
right?
Please
Dani?
do.
This was a great conversation, and I wish we had more time. Hopefully I could have you back on again. And
I would love
maybe
that.
we could delve deeper into some of the topics and things that came out of this conversation.
For sure.
And so as we end it, I would love for you to provide your information, your social platforms to the audience who've been part of this conversation and how they could contact you.
All right. Well, okay. My name is Dani Chang-Gardner, and my company is called ROP Mental Health Services. So that's www.ropmentalhealth.com. And you can also catch me on IG or TikTok at ROP Mental Health. And I think that's most of my socials. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me. You can take a look at our website and even see the other team members. You can put a request for who you'd like to have initial consult with, and we can go from there.
You're on IG as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on IG
Okay.
as well. Yeah, at ROP Mental Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's great.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to the conversation. And I'm sure people got some valuable information. And so until next time,